All right, let's go. Let's get started. Week 4. Now, so far what we have done is direct approach with the units. Then afterwards we've done the small friends, the plus small friends, minus small friends. Now we're going to go into the tens. And you're going to see it is the same approach as the first class where we learn how to do finger movements, adding 4, adding 6, adding 7, minus 6, minus 7, and everything onwards. But now what's going to happen is that we're going to use our left hand as well. And I'm going to show you how to do it as well. So here's what we are going to cover. Number 1, values, principles, and actions. Number 2, introduction to tens, left hand. And then 3, initial exercises, finger exercises. Don't forget, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the above. Follow for more exclusive content. Share the course. As I repeat, this is a revolution. This is what we've been working on for the last 5 years and how the program's been working for the last, I think it's now 30 years soon, if I'm correct. Yeah, so around 31 years now. So it's a program that has developed from the beginning, from the basics of basics, to now it's growing into more and more and using now 6 fingers. Before, when I was learning, it was 4 fingers, which is only these 2 fingers, the index and the thumb on both hands. Now it's 3 fingers, which means more neuronal patterns connecting and working. And the best part out of this is that it's a growing community. Now, obviously, you can't call someone who is in Switzerland as a community, but we are growing. The number of students under the UCMAS banner is growing fast. Around right now, 3 million students in about 80 and more countries and 6,000 centers across the world. One of the multiple factors that we here at UCMAS Auteuil, we keep pushing for community, and I cannot speak for the other centers as they have their own culture within their own environment. We hold community at the highest standard. And that's the most important part, is to hold our community at the highest standard. Every single person is there to push themselves forward. It's not the results, it's not the competition, the trophies that come with it, as trophies are simply mere expression of the hard work that we've done. And sometimes we put in the hard work and we don't get the trophies. And it's okay. Because we are not based only because of the trophy, but because of the labor and the work we have put in and the growth that we've had. I have failed so many times in my life, and it's not because of the failures that I'm a failure. It's because I use those failures as my fuel and my learning ground for my next steps. So, share this course. Not only I, but everybody in this team truly believes in this revolution. And let's change people's lives together. Warning, this is the next most important video in this entire course. Watch the entire video. Don't skip. Don't fast forward. Pro tip though, you could watch it at 2 times speed or 1.5 times speed. Values, principles, and actions. Daily, consistent, intentional improvement. Again, daily, every day, consistent. Having the least amount of breaks in between the first set and the next step and the next set and the following sets. And intentional. Having the willingness to practice and that leads to steady improvement and lasting mastery. Understanding, automating, speed. Understanding the concept that is taught is primordial. Practice means improvement. Speed is the ultimate result of mastery. And I know that in this lesson, it's going to be easy. Again, it's not because it's easy, it means that it's useless. You have seen all of our students that have done way more complicated calculations. They did not start from the hard. They started with the easy, and make sure that they perfected the basics. Nobody wins at the highest levels or even at the mediocre levels without knowing the basics. You can't achieve a whole recipe without starting with the ingredients and then afterwards stirring the pot, and then one by one, step by step. Same thing with cooking eggs. You have to start from the basics. You can't expect to be top when you don't know the basics. And it's the same for everything, whether it's soccer. If you don't know how to juggle, if you don't know how to dribble, if you don't know how to pass a ball, if you don't know how to shoot the ball, even with the side of the foot or with the laces or with the outside of the foot, whatever the case, you should be able to do all of those basic steps. All right, next. UCMAS core habits: sitting posture, holding the pencil, sitting halfway through the chair, back straight, holding the pencil, obviously at this position, folding only the last two fingers. Finger movements: we will only be using thumb, index, big finger of the right and left hand. And the left hand will be used for adding the tens on the abacus. Introduction to tens, left hand. Establishing fundamental logic. When practicing the tens, we will be using the left hand and have the same three fingers with the same usage. Thumb, adding the bottom beads, index, subtracting the bottom beads, big finger, adding and subtracting the top bead, +5, -5. Perhaps in this particular course, you're going to find it pretty boring because I'm just repeating myself, but we're only going to be using the left hand for the tens and the right hand for the units. And then later on, we have more combinations coming up, but we go step by step by step. If you think this is too fast, go from step 1 and then start over. If you think this is too slow, perfect. Reiterate exactly what we've been saying every single day. And at this point, you should be adding up and stacking up some exercises every single day. Whether it's the pages that we give or even the practice that you could give only with the finger movements will get your kid to a whole different level. And I assure you, because we've tested this out multiple times with multiple students, and the results were astonishing. The results were astonishing. We were very surprised. Establishing physical observation, abacus. There are only 5 beads in one column. 4 beads under the central beam, each worth 1, and one bead above the central beam, worth 5. Now, maximum worth of each column is 9. Maximum worth. I didn't say maximum amount of beads. I said maximum worth. So why 9? We have the 5. If you add 1, that's 6. Then 2, that's 7. Then onwards, you get to 9. Okay, this is basic stuff. What do I mean by basic stuff? Which is very simple. We know and we all understand how numbers work. After 9, we jump into 10, which means we have a 1 in the tens and a 0 in the units. Those are certain concepts that kids take time, and when I say time, it's really 30 minutes of explaining and showcasing. It does take some time, and it's okay. That's the learning process. So each column is a position. The units is the central point of the abacus. The tens, it's the next column to the left of the units column. So we go to the next one. You can look at your abacus that you have in front of you. And I don't know if I could draw. I can't really draw in here. Can we do this? Anyways, we'll maybe add it in there. So it's the bead in the middle, and you'll see a red bead for you or a white dot depending the abacus that you have. It's the middle. That's the units. And you could technically move around, but I would not recommend that for the kids right now, especially when everything is new. You don't want to put more variables in there and say, oh yeah, you could do it anywhere. They're going to get lost. So keep it in the middle. That's the central point. That's your units. Units rod or column, whatever you call it. Then the next column to the left, that is your tens. Those are your tens. So what do we do with those tens? Very simple. We work with the tens. And then the one after that is going to be, to the left, the hundreds, and then the thousands, and then 10,000s, and then the 100,000s, and then the millions, and then tens of millions, and then hundreds of millions, and onwards. The beauty of this is that every column is the same. And I think you might have a grasp of why each column is the same. Fundamentally, logically, there's only 9 numbers, or at least you could say 10 digits that could go in there. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? 10 digits that could go into a single column. And then each column is a replica of it. It's just varying numbers. So now these pictures, we only have to imagine 5 beads everywhere. So if I were to say 295, 295 is 2 beads, 5 beads, and 1 bead. Now, obviously at varying positions, but 2, 9, 5 is very simple to see and imagine in my head. Compared to, let's say, if I were to say add 678, I would do 600, then 70, and then 8. Now, we're going into bigger formulas and everything. Let me go to something more simple. Let's say 295, let's say plus 204. So I'm adding 204. This you should be able to do it, but we're going to show you exactly how to get into the tens and everything afterwards. So that's 295 plus 204, that's 499. Now, the objective is to be able to visualize this in the future. In order to be able to visualize this in the future, and I say future, I mean in the next month, it requires immense work at the beginning. And we will follow through with every single one. And it's crucial. If you enroll into this program expecting everything's going to be easy, that's not the point. We're helping you out here. If you want the job to be done for you, that's a different price point. That's a different problem. That's a whole different set of problems. So we're helping you out, we're teaching, we're showing our best, we're doing our best while we can. But at home, you have to be watching as a parent. And I truly am grateful to all the parents who put in the work, because it shows. It shows. It's so beautiful to watch in classrooms. You see all of them putting in the work, putting in the effort, putting in the next step, and then pushing themselves. It's like, because my mom or my father or my mother has helped me out at home and has given me a little bit of push, a little bit of motivation, encouragement. If the parent is discouraged, there is no point into continuing anything, because that will just continue on into the kids' lives, and that will be the rest of their lives' limitation. If you are a parent that is motivated, not only through self-motivation, but through just geared on discipline, you will see that your kid will only do the same. Very much. All right, so that's the easy part. That's understanding where are the tens, where are the units. Okay, now let's go to the application. That's where it's going to be getting a bit more, I would say, at the beginning, you would have to be a bit more tedious with these steps. You'd have to go step by step by step. All right, application. Questions of logical continuation. Just like any number, each number can be added directly to the next column, which is in the tens. Now, the ultimate element of development is if the child can anticipate by themselves the next steps. So if the direct approach cannot be performed, then they must have to think about what's the next step. Always add the tens before adding the units. Reason is a number system. Now, if you're in a Germanic country, for example, Germany, Swiss, Austria, Denmark, Iceland, Norway, sorry. If you're in one of those countries, and I believe there's also another language that also has this different configuration. Most countries, or most languages, sorry, say 41. They start with a tens and then go into the units. But let's say you're in the German language, where it goes as, for example, 45. So it goes with 5, which is 5, 40, which is 40, and it goes 45. And that's one word, that's how they say it. So they say 5 and 40, which is not how we say in English or in French. So unless you're German and listening to this, or any other language that speaks in that particular way, this system is only for the way we do it is because we add the tens as we say it at the first. So we say 13, that's a natural number, 13. But let's say we go into 41, which is a combination, we go 41, 41. And if you're not from the rest of the world, well, you're going to do 1 and 40. Because you're going to hear the first number first. Like, first number is going to be 1. You're not going to hear 40. But that is irrelevant unless you're a German or a Danish or a Norwegian or someone from Iceland. It does not matter. So, example, let's add 60. First, we add the 60 in the tens rod, or column. Now, here's how you could explain it also to a kid. 60 is 6 in the tens. This is a concept that is so tough to understand for many of the children, which I'm talking younger children. Obviously, older children, they understand because they learned it at school. Now, younger children has to grasp that concept and be like, okay, that's also 6, but 6 what? 6 tens. So it's in the position of the 6, of the tens, sorry. And we add 6 with our left hand. How do we do it? It's the same combination of crocodile that we used a couple of classes ago, and we just did 6. Now, let's take a new example. Let's add 45. Short clear, add 45. We add the 41st in the tens rod, which is also a 4 in the tens. If we say it in that way, we add the 4. Now, we add the 5 in the units rod. So we'll call it. So we add 5. That is 45. So you added 40 or 4 in the tens with your left hand thumb, and with your big finger on the right hand, you added the 5 in the units. Let's continue this. So we're going to continue with the 5. We already have 45, sorry. Now let's add 43 to the example. First step, as I mentioned before. Can you guess what it is? Wow, so easy. Anyways, first we start with the 40 in the tens rod, which is already 4 in the tens rod. Now, here's the kicker. If you say, I don't have it, you are essentially waiting on your emotions or your visual perception. But if you're someone who's, I would call, en français c'est perspicace, or perspicacious, is that you would already see this happen. You know how we get this? Through practice. Make sure your kids practice. That is very important, because in order to have the ability to anticipate certain problems and to be perspicacious, we have to have practice so much. And I'm not talking years, I'm talking weeks. And it's how we practice. If we practice unintentionally, like every other student and every other parent and every other adult and every other human that has ever lived, you will have a failed perspicacity. So here's how we're going to do. First step, you ask, can we add directly? And the answer they're going to say is, no, I can't add 4 directly with my left hand. Then you ask, why? And they need to think. Let them think. Let them go through it. Don't give them the answer. And they will have to say, we don't have enough beads in the bottom section. It's as simple as that. Look at it clearly. You don't have it. You can't give me another reason and say that's a good reason. No, it's not. There's no other reasons to this, except we can't add. We don't have any other beads. So we go to the next step that we already know. Can we use our plus small friend? So let's not forget the plus, because some kids think of the minus. But let's stick to the plus small friend. And the answer is going to be yes. And if they say, I don't know, now you give them clues, because they're learning. But as a parent, I'm giving you this. So let's say if they don't know. Let's say, so I'll say, I don't know. Okay, then you have to say, okay, perfect. Let's look at the clues. Who is the base of the small friend? The base is 5. So what do we look for? The 5. Perfect. Now we understand that. Second question we ask around that is, are we really into the within the limitation of the small friends? And that's where the extra step, and those things take time, but if they're able to push their thinking that far, you will have a peaceful high school. Because high school is all about steps. High school is all about logic. High school is all about having that step-by-step process. So it goes as, first, you look at the 5, because the base of the small friends is 5. Can we use it? Yes. Good. First check mark in our heads. Second check mark that we're going through is the question that we're asking, which is plus 4 in the tens, is it still 4 between 4, 3, 2, 1? And if let's say it was 6, then the answer would be no. But in this case, the answer is yes. So we have, and as time progresses, our objective, and it's hard, it's not easy to get everybody to say an answer like this, but our objective is for them to think by themselves and do it. I don't want them to be programmed. That's not my objective. My objective is for them to think for themselves, which means that sometimes they will not have the perfect answer, which is all right, and it is okay. They will try to formulate, they will fail. We allow failure here. We're not in school where failure is not allowed, and we're not in the real life where failure has a real consequence that could be different. Now we're in the training ground. Training grounds mean we could fail as much and learn as much. So the answer, obviously, can we use our plus small friend? The answer is yes. The question is why? And they should be around the answer of, because we have the ability to use the 5, the bead above the beam. So we could use it, we could add it. And we are within the 4, 3, 2, 1 limitation. Because, by the way, the formula is plus 5 minus 1, right? So we do plus 5. Can we add the 5? That's the small friend. If they'll practice it properly, they would have recognized. Or we also have to have the intentional work in there. So we apply the plus small friend plus 5 minus the friend, which then becomes plus 4 in the tens is equal to, or replaced by, the plus 5 in the tens and then minus 1 in the tens. Always using the left hand. All right? So we're not changing our hands because of the small friends. We are using the same left hand. Stick to the correct finger movements. Plus small friend replaced is plus the base, which is 5. So plus 5 with the big finger and minus the friend. In this case is minus 1 with the index. Second, so we've already added the 4. So it's going to give you 85. And now we have to add the 3 in the units rod. Can we add directly? The answer is yes. They'll see it. If they say no, it's because they're not paying attention. That's it. But the answer is yes. Why? Because we have enough beads in the bottom section. Good. Asking the right questions equals to more reasoning. Don't expect programming, because that's not what you came to us for. We're not here to program your kids. We're here to teach them how to think, and then how to solve a problem, and then do also mental math at a full speed, like a F1 car, race car. So more reasoning. Inherently, understanding is reasoning and having coherent conclusions. Perfect. Initial exercises, finger exercises. It's always finger exercises at the beginning because we're practicing the finger movements, and then afterwards we're going to jump into like orals, like listening exercises, and then afterwards like more different activities we could go into, supplementary work, extra page works, and we could go over those. But right now it's just finger exercise because it's fantastic. After that we're going to go into basic exercise, we're going to go into cumulative addition, so many other exercises that is fundamentally they will help your child to go faster and further, but those are not the basics. Those are later stages to go to the next steps, next levels. All right, finger exercise. This exercise helps students build muscle memory for the specific finger movements they will use throughout their training. Thumb, adding bottom beads. Index, subtracting bottom beads. Big finger, adding and subtracting top bead +5 -5. Now we will practice the left hand movements. Systematic approach. The exercises are designed to be systematic, following a specific structure. Combination of hands. With the first number, we start with the tens, then you move on to the units. Then with the second number, you start with the tens and you add or subtract the units. So when we say start, we just mean like add or subtract whatever they're asking for. But you always start with the tens, then the units, then you go to the next question. You don't do the tens of all questions and then the units of all questions. Why? Because it's impractical once you get to 10 numbers like, to add on, which is, again, impractical. Journey. The finger movements practiced in these exercises are not just for isolated tasks. They will be used consistently across all future abacus and mental math exercises. This is part of the first fundamental building block. Daily practice with parental support. Include finger exercises in their child's daily routine and supervise practice sessions to ensure proper techniques and consistent progress. And I appreciate to all the parents, and I sincerely say this, perhaps because this is going to be in the future, you're probably going to see this in the future, but we're saying this from what we're living currently, is that all the students that are succeeding right now with going on to the next levels quickly, next one, and winning more and more in life are the ones that practiced from the beginning properly. And I assure you, your kid will be way ahead of the 99% who are doing it wrong. Summary. Daily, consistent, intentional improvement. Daily, consistent, intentional improvement practice leads to steady improvement and lasting mastery. Nobody wants to stay stuck on gear 1 for the rest of our lives. And nonetheless, it is probably what's happening to you and what happened to you, and it is exactly what we're doing to our children today. Simplify the process of learning and focus on the most important elements. Focus on the most important elements. Combination of hands. With the first number, start with the tens first, then you move to the units, then with the second number, we start again with the tens, and then you add or subtract the units according to what the number is asked for. I still use this Abraham Lincoln quote, and I'll still remind you all, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. We're still within the first 4 sharpening the axe. We're not any further. And yes, you may say, oh, the results are not coming. Trust me. If you do this process properly, you would be going so much faster in the next couple of levels. You will have a heart attack, figuratively. And you will feel like, oh my God, my child is going so fast. You were asking for it. And that's exactly what we're working on. On that note, let's get to work.